Hello and welcome to the 2020 Political Prediction Conference, brought to you by American Civics Exchange and Old Bull TV. I'm Pidot, founder of American Civics Exchange, developer of political markets and politics-related financial products, and host of Old Bull TV, your insider's guide to political prediction markets. I also spent 5 years working on market curation for the prediction market Predictit, an exchange I'd expect some of our sessions today to touch on. I want to thank all of you for joining us today. I hope you are all staying safe, healthy, and moderately sane. It's a real pleasure to be spending this afternoon with you. And I also want to thank our lineup of moderators and panelists joining us from around the country and indeed around the world. A conference like this would likely not have been feasible in meet space, so this should be a really unique opportunity to intermingle a very broad range of perspectives and expertise from various fields and locations, but united in their shared interest in trying to glimpse the political future. Now, we want to let everyone know you are free to jump in and out of the conference whenever convenient. If you're joining us on Zoom, the same meeting link will prevail throughout the day, but we are also simulcasting on oldbull.tv. And if you miss any of the sessions today, they will be archived on that site at oldbull.tv, so you can catch them later at your convenience. So, what is this conference about? What do we hope to achieve together? Well, beyond the simple pleasure of being in this virtual room with all of you fine folks, our goal is as simple as it is lofty: to improve the field of political forecasting, to get better, whether as academics, investors, policymakers, or cocktail party guests at divining the future. Our desire, our need to see around corners is a curious but seemingly universal human instinct. That drive to model the future helped our distant ancestors survive a hostile world, and being only marginally better at this skill in modern society confers an almost godlike ability to outperform, to accumulate resources to provide for oneself or for the common good. Consider the power of being slightly but consistently better at predicting corporate earnings or dangerous weather conditions, a batter's on-base percentage, or which show a content subscriber is likely to want to watch next, which ad they'll click on, or the time and place of the next viral outbreak. So that's why we're here today, to aggregate our collective best practices and to learn from each other in hopes of becoming marginally better. Our realm is politics, but these methods, whether models, markets, maps, etc., relate to almost any field of prediction. And each of these approaches offers forecasters a potential edge, but each has its own peculiar vulnerabilities and biases. And if we together can get better at understanding them, at refining and selecting ever more intelligently from among them, we may, as individuals, as organizations, and as a society collectively, get marginally better at seeing around that next corner. And there is, of course, unimaginable value in that. So before we get started today, I want to offer just a few quick housekeeping and logistical notes. Now, assuming we're doing this right, you should all be muted with the exception of our moderators and panelists. However, you should have access to the meeting text chat. So if you have a question for a moderator or a panelist, or if you're simply moved to comment or heckle silently during a session, please feel free to use that chat as your venue to do so. Now, toward the end of each session, we have left time open for Q&A from the participants. So if you've offered up an insightful question in the text chat during the session, we may either read it ourselves to the moderator to present to the panel, or logistics permitting, we may even put you on the spot, turn on your mic, and have you pose it to them directly. And assuming it doesn't descend into immediate cacophony, we may also enable unmuting during the brief periods between the sessions. Now, let me preview for you all the spectacular agenda that we have this afternoon. Our first session will start at 1:15. We'll run through about 6 o'clock this evening Eastern Time. The full agenda, including the names and bios of the speakers and the topics they'll be speaking on, should be available in the Zoom meeting description. It's also available at amciv.com, that's amciv.com, and we will put it on the screen of this meeting in between the sessions. We're starting off in just a few minutes with Models versus Markets. This is featuring Dr. Harry Crane, a Rutgers statistician whose work includes comparing the forecast accuracy of some of the most celebrated data journalists like Nate Silver at 538 with the electoral projections of prediction markets like Predictit. I've been following Harry's research since the 2018 midterms, and it is absolutely fascinating. He's ramped up this project and this effort for the 2020 election cycle, such as it is, and we're going to get to hear some of those preliminary results for the first time publicly from Harry in that session. Next up at 2 p.m. Eastern is Black Boxes and Black Swans, a disruptor's guide to better election forecasting. This is featuring Dr. Rachel Bidot, a political science professor at Christopher Newport University, who some of you might know as something like the antithesis to the black box wielding professional election forecasters. She suggests this entire field is based on flawed electoral theory and has substituted her own. Now, unsurprisingly, the pros dismissed her, but then a funny thing happened. She called the 2018 elections better than almost anyone, and she saw exactly how it would unfold months before anyone else. This is going to be a truly fascinating hour of conversation with Dr. Bidot. At 3 p.m., we begin our first panel session called Predicting Across the Pond: How Cultures and Regulators Help or Hinder Markets' Ability to See the Future. This is moderated by the legendary Patrick Young, the globe-trotting financial exchange executive, fintech entrepreneur, author, and podcaster. Joining Patrick are Matthew Shattuck, head of politics betting at Ladbrokes, and Sarbjeet Bakshi, head of politics markets at Smarkets. Patrick is joining us from Malta today, Matthew and Sarbjeet from London. At 4 p.m. Eastern, we are sitting down with a group of professional political traders. Moderating this session is Jeff Joseph from Luckbox Magazine and host of the Political Trade podcast, both of which you should check out if you're interested in or want to get better at trading politics. On Jeff's panel are Derek Phillips, Jason Pipkin, and Pratik Chogali, three whip-smart traders with pretty interesting backgrounds who have had the pleasure of hosting on Old Bull TV a few times now. And finally, our last panel session at 5 p.m. Eastern is Mapmaker, the whiz kids of political cartography. Moderating this panel is Eric Cunningham from Elections Daily, with panelists Drew Savicki, a very well-regarded freelance political analyst and mapper, and J. Miles Coleman, associate editor of Larry Sabato's Crystal Ball at the University of Virginia's Center for Politics. Again, you can jump in and out of any of these sessions throughout the day, but if you don't have anything else on your plate, I suggest just getting comfortable, grab a drink, put your feet up, and stick with us straight through the afternoon until 6. If you experience any problems or have any general inquiries, please email us at conference@amciv.com. It's conference@amciv.com, or you can email me directly at flip@amciv.com. Of course, you can also follow us on Twitter @OldBullTV. I want to thank you all again so much for joining us today. We'll be starting our first session with Harry Crane in just a couple minutes.